I'm sure you all can't wait to hear what the papers are reporting, as well as Ria, who also can't wait to know what the papers have reported this morning. First, let's have a peek through. The Nation newspaper is the first National Assembly Constitution Review panel proposes 6 new states. The Daily Times, Chinese firms invest $1.3 billion in Nigeria's lithium sector. That's according to Alake. While we want to double our refining capacity by 2028, Dangote. Leadership newspaper, analysts upbeat as Dangote refineries begins expansion to 1.4 million barrels per day. Aliko Dangote says project will create 65,000 jobs, make plant biggest in the world. Daily Independent, hard times linked to deepening credit crunch, monetary tightening. Blueprint newspaper, alleged genocide, Nigeria's conflict social, not holy war. That's Vatican secretary. Mosques also under attack, Muslims killed, Cardinal Parolin, and its mischaracterization aimed at dividing Nigeria. That's according to Femi Fani-Kayode. Next is Abuja Inquirer. FCT Indigenes or natives to Tinubu declare Wike sole administrator. Hope newspaper is next. Drug party, NDLEA raids Lagos nightclub, arrests, detains 100 VIPs. Pretty Mike, ex-BBNaija star, Tuoyo among arrested merrymakers. Various hard drugs recovered. Next is This Nigeria. Red alert, young people hooked in hard drugs. Hospital sources reveal alarming trend among 19 to 35-year-olds. And last but not least for today is Sport Alive, or cement net for the 3 goals in 50 games. Let's get down to brass tacks with my colleague, Toma, Ria, and Olamide. Looking at the Nation newspaper, it's saying that National Assembly Constitution Review panel proposes 6 new states. There are about 50 of them, 55 requests that have been, that are tabled to the National Assembly, and they said, okay, we can't have all these 55. We already have 36. So let's just go for 1 per region. So meaning that Northwest will be the largest in having like 8 states, as against the Southeast will be having 6, Southwest will also be having 7. What do you think about this move?
I think they just created a political solution to the whole hula-baloo about creation of states. Yes, everybody wants creation of states for political reasons, and most of them will say for development reasons, but how sure are we that development is the key thing that made you to start agitating? Other people are asking for that because they feel marginalized where they are right now. There are some states where we have quite a number of ethnic groups, and some feel marginalized, so they are pushing for the creation of state. But this committee had done a fantastic job by my reckoning, because what they have done is, look, we've heard all your submissions. We have 6 geopolitical zones, so we're going to give each political zone 1 state, and that to me settles it to an extent. If
you look at states now, they're getting like more than ×3, or let's say more than ×2 of what they used to get before the removal of fuel subsidy. But I don't know, some will be thinking, so the number of, the amount of money I'm getting from the federal allocation, are you going to be splitting it with
for me, Ibrahim, the way they explained it is so beautiful. Anybody will buy into the idea. So we already have 36 states now. If we add the states, it will not be 42 states. But, I was having a conversation with someone in the government about this, and I feel like we have 36 states. Those 36 states, how are they doing? We should make sure that these states are doing very well before we now want to add more. I understand their argument, political reasons and all of that, fairness and all of that. But now we want to create new states. We're looking at the timing. We're looking at the cost. Let's also look at the cost. It's not just going to be free to set up new states. And with 36 we have, how strong are they? How well are they doing? Now thinking about adding new states. So if you ask me, I know that when it comes to fairness, a lot of people will say that, okay, let's do the call of the Southeast. Let's get more states. But if you ask me, I think it's time for Nigeria to make sure that these 36 states we have are doing really well. They are strong before thinking of expanding. If you ask me, that's what I'll say.
But then, looking at Ria's concern, others will also argue that the current states that we have, they are viable, but they are not making good use of the resources that they have. So by the time we have more states, we'll have more governance, covering some, quote unquote, ungoverned areas, and then you push democracy or governance to the grassroots.
Absolutely, like Etoma rightly said, there are certain geopolitical zones that feel very marginalized, and so on the surface, this creation of 6 new states does look like political or socio-ethnic inclusion. On the other hand, it is going to be a burden. We're talking 6 more governors, we're talking 6 more assemblies, we are talking 6 more of everything, and you already have states that are struggling with their
six different types of electorates as well.
that are struggling with their current allocation. So this is my focus is this addition of these new states. What will it do to the fiscal health of the federation? That is my issue. What does it mean for the fiscal health of Nigeria?
Those are the questions that will be answered in the coming days. Let's move on to the Daily Times. Chinese firms invest $1.3 billion in Nigeria's lithium sector. Alake. Now, if you look at lithium, it's also powering battery, and that's what China is using. That's what some other countries that are going into EVs are also implementing. But the problem there is, I mean, not problem really, but challenge I would think is how are we going to ensure that whatever investment is coming into this, whatever mining is coming into this, people are not going to pay for it negatively? Because that is what we're seeing in DR Congo, that's what we're seeing in Sudan, that's where there are crises. But the government seems to be, taking charge this time round.
Oh, well, when at this stage, government has to sound bold, and for all the problems that these other countries have experienced, especially in DR Congo, it has to do with the documentation at this stage. You have to put the right documents together. You have to put the right clauses in those documents. If those clauses are not right, Nigeria will complain, just like DR Congo and the rest have complained. We have to take a lot of things into consideration, and Nigeria is lucky. We have examples of failed and bad documentation. So let's do better documentation and go ahead with the stuff, because there's fear that sinking such an amount of money in $1.3 billion dollars can just make China take complete control of the lithium.
Absolutely. We just have to move on to the next papers. If you look at Nigerian News Direct as well as Leadership newspaper talking about Dangote's expansion from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day, and that is expected to create additional 65,000 jobs. Way to go. You were excited that it's an opportunity for those of us that buy stocks to also get into this business.
I wouldn't like this moment. I'm loving everything that Dangote is doing, because I feel like when you expand, we don't now have to get fuel from outside again. We have it with us right here. That's right. He's been saying great things. Nigerians can now buy shares, and now also looking at the fact that we're looking that he's planning to expand. It's going to give us more job opportunities and all of that. So we're looking forward to see how that pans out. With me, when I always hear things like this, I want to see if it happens. Because some news looks really nice, and at the end of the day, you don't hear about it again. I want to see it happening, that we get to expand, and we do not now depend on other people when it comes to, fuel. We now know that we are getting it from our place, Nigeria. Absolutely.
Let's move on to Blueprint newspaper. Alleged genocide. Nigeria's conflict social, not holy war. Vatican secretary saying that mosques also under attack, Muslims killed, Cardinal Parolin, and is saying that another person, Fani Kaide, is saying it's mischaracterization aimed at dividing Nigeria. We've talked about these oftentimes, and you see the Vatican, which poses itself as the mouthpiece for the Christendom. They're also saying that, listen, do not be swayed by this narrative. You guys need to tackle the root problem and ensure that people are not killed, regardless of faith.
Absolutely. The Vatican is a very, very potent, I would say, religious authority. And so we understand that when they speak, they are coming from an understanding of the several parishes and churches that they have access to and the data from these places. But what I want us to keep in mind is that a war is a war. Whether it is social, whether it is holy, whether it is religious, a war is a war, and the effects of war are general. It doesn't matter what's causing the war.
Absolutely.
But instead of focusing on what to name the war, let's focus on the effects of what is happening.
And ending the war, actually. We should focus on also ending the war.
That is my
Absolutely. Let's look at the Hope newspaper as well as This Nigeria. The Hope is saying that there was a drug party. NDLEA raided Lagos nightclub, arresting and detaining over 100 VIPs. Part of them, were Pretty Mike, Ex-BBNaija star, Tuoyo, etc. And this Nigeria is also raising concern on red alerts, saying young people hooked on hard drugs. So there is a problem of nightlife. We will not even dwell much on that, because we still have more to chew on when we get to trending now. But if you look at hard drugs, it's becoming a pandemic. Not even a pandemic. epidemic, starting from within.
When you said pandemic, you were not far from the truth. In my days, it used to be alcohol. You have a party, there's plenty of alcohol, man. Booze been did that party and all that kind of stuff. But now it's
there used to be cocoa too now. I think
no, not in my days. I'm talking about my days. All right. Then it was alcohol, plenty of music, maybe not too much food, but alcohol and plenty of music and so much. But now it is about how many kind of psychedelic drugs do you have in your offering.
That's right.
And it's unfortunate, really unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that the alarming trend is found among 19 to 35-year-old, and then rehab centers overwhelmed as psychiatrists. Psychologists say depression, peer pressure, fueling addiction.
And sometimes it's even lower than that. Sometimes you see people 14, 15, they're already hooked into drugs. I'm happy with what the NDLEA did. And because it's Pretty Mike, everybody's saying Pretty Mike, Pretty Mike. But they do that in almost every club. When you talk about it, young people right now, they feel like enjoyment is getting high. And I don't know how we can now change that narrative. When you go to the club, the first thing is to drink or get high before you can enjoy yourself. Whereas you can enjoy yourself without damaging your kidney. Yeah. Because when we say peer pressure, I do not understand the peer pressure that will make you do something that you are not willing to do.
That's right.
People will come to you with different things, but what are your morals? You need to also understand that, let's look at some of our musicians. At some ages, you now see, donate for them, they have kidney failure. So, these are some of the repercussions. These are some of the things that they do. It hurts me that when it comes to Nigeria, we see the amount of youths that are now engaging in drugs. When there are so many things that you can use to be productive in your town or in your country, rather than hooking yourself on something that is really damaging.
All right, Olamide, very quickly. So whenever anyone says, let's go clubbing,
I don't go to club, actually.
What kind of club will we go in?
I want to shift the conversation away from these VVIPs and take the conversation to the core and the root of this issue. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we see addiction as a choice and not as a disease. And we need to change that model. I want to let you know, and I'm not taking their side, drugs are wrong, I will always stand against it. But the moment a young person uses drugs, what happens in the brain is that it hijacks their dopamine system. They are literally unable to stop. And so we need more enlightenment, we need more education. Statistics show that there's, for every 1 million people, there is one psychiatrist in Nigeria. It means that these people that are getting addicted to drugs, they don't have the help that is available to them. And even when that help is made available, they are unable to stop because their brains have been hijacked.
Because of our time.
Just quickly, I'm just very stern with this because at the end of the day, I'm even saying that why do people go into it?
Right. So, Sport and Life is good that Osime is doing very, very well. Out of 50 games, he was able to net 43 games. And we are so excited that one of our own is doing that. He also played very well.
Come on, boys.
But a round of applause for him that much. Well, that's about it for the